Hi guys, welcome back to another episode here on This Is Just the Beginning. I hope you're well and I hope you're having a good day. Today I wanted to talk about something that I was really nervous about putting on here, and I thought maybe this is not the right time for me. Last week, as I'm sure you were aware, was Eating Disorder Awareness Week. And if you have been following my pages for quite a while now, you will know that I am in 18 months of recovery, well, pretty much coming up to 2 years now. And this year, my sole aim was to spread so much awareness about eating disorders, the effects they have on the sufferer, but also the family, and just trying to get as much information out there for other people to use, or just for me to raise awareness for those people who might not know a lot about it. I went into it very blindly and didn't really realise how triggering that would be for me. If I'm being totally honest with you guys, as I never want to be a hypocrite on here, I always tell you the truth. The last month or so has been really hard for me. I have had a relapse and I'm now pushing out of it. I'm really trying to not give in to those thoughts, but it's so scary to think that, and I'm sure if you've been in the same position as me, you'll understand that during that time when you're going down that kind of rabbit hole and you're on that, like I use the analogy of that kind of threshold, whether you're literally in that position where you think, okay, do I give in to those eating disorder thoughts in my mind, that other person in my mind, that other version of me? Do I give in to that? Or do I step away from the threshold? Imagine it's like a door. Do I step away from that and listen to my true self and not go down that hole? Because of eating disorders are not about being thin. They come with so many other side effects. And I have been battling with that for over a month now. And I went to therapy last week, and last Tuesday, because that was the Tuesday in ED Awareness Week, I just broke down as I got in there. And I was saying to her that I'm not doing well. I'm really not. And she did say that without kind of wanting to say it. She was like, you have lost a bit of weight. I have noticed that. I've noticed you becoming a bit more withdrawn from our conversations. And I had a very honest conversation with her about it, and she could see how scared I was. And I was terrified. I was so scared of falling back into old habits again. And I already had. That's why I couldn't express how scared I was. And I just wanted to put this on there to let you know that you're not alone if you think about having a relapse. And in the past, I've said this before as well, but relapses for me tended to last a day or two. I'd say, okay, Ellie, this is very toxic, so I do not encourage you to do this, but I'd say, okay, Ellie, you can have this day tomorrow as well to kind of like give into those thoughts, do an extra workout, only one meal, that kind of thing, like those habits that I used to do. Again, I'm not encouraging this. But then that would allow me to kind of like get it out my system, if you know what I mean. And then the day after, I'd wake up and be, Ellie, no, you're being stupid. Like, you do not want to go back down that path. And I think the reason why I've been going through this relapse is because I've been putting so much pressure on myself. And this is what we're going to talk about today, but I thought this was a really good point to kind of put across. I have been working full time for 6 weeks now. And so with my job in social media marketing, I am working 5 days a week, and if you have a job in social media marketing, if you have a podcast yourself or whatever you do, some of you might be aware of how stressful the job is. I went into this kind of change in pace really, really positively, and I thought, yes, I can finally kind of set up a daily plan, a weekly plan, a schedule for everything I'm going to get done each day of the week, so it's all the same, because I like my lists. I like being my productivity lists, exactly what I'm going to get done in the day, the 3 things that are most important. I'll come back to this in a bit, and I would do those plans, and I was really getting into it. Then I realised, hold on a second, I'm working 9 to 5 days a week. And around this point as well was when I decided to rebrand my blog and my podcast and everything. And if you use Notion, I made a huge new master calendar with everything connected. Like, I'm sure if you're aware of Notion, you'll understand what I mean when you can link all of your different pages. So I linked my blog schedule, my podcast schedule, my socials, all of that into this one big calendar, so I knew exactly what was being posted each day, and I made sure all of it kind of coincided with each other, so I had a brand, if you know what I mean. Whereas before that, I've just been putting the odd episode out here and there, whatever inspiration I have. And this is exactly an example of that. Going off on a little tangent here, I've been doing all of this, like the same thing for each of my platforms every day. And I was meant to be doing more this week, but I've decided, no, I need to come on here and have this chat with you, because I'm sure we all go through this sometimes. But back to the point, I was working 9 to 5 every single day, I still am. And I'd come home after work, and then I'd be doing like recording for my reels, I would then do some TikToks, I would then do some blog posts and do my podcast, edit my blogs, send them to people to review and to approve with the guests on my blogs, etc. So much so that then I wasn't going to sleep until about 1 a.m. And sure, I was putting on Netflix at the same time, I was listening to music, having a chat with my parents after the day at work, that kind of thing. But I was still not relaxing, and I've realised for the past 6 months, if not more, I'd say nearing to a year, I have not had time to myself. I mean, for like the past year, 6 months of that was, 9 months of that was being with my ex-boyfriend, well, now ex-boyfriend. And then since we broke up, I've been on the kind of the back of being productive all the time in order to run from my emotions. And this is the whole point. I've been trying to run from my emotions. And this was made even worse by the fact in February, every single weekend was packed to the brim of my social life, seeing friends, seeing family. So I never had that time to just be by myself, because when I did that rebrand back in January, I decided, right, if I'm working 9 to 5, 5 days a week, on the weekends I will do my blog and my podcast and schedule those posts for the week. And I was in a good routine of that for 2 weeks. And then February hit, and I knew how busy February would be, but I didn't prepare myself for that. And I've just had no time, and I've definitely burnt out. My therapist told me that on Tuesday. She just kind of took one look at me, same with the week before as well. She just said, you've burnt out. And this is why relapses happen as well, when, again, that sense of loss of control. And even though I was in control of everything, it was to a really like high extreme. And I did kind of lose control of it. And I just thought I have to be productive all the time. And this is what now where I'm at the stage where I've had a huge breakdown about it. And I don't want to do these podcasts. I don't want to do my blogs. I don't want to be posting anywhere. And last week, especially with ED Awareness Week, it just all plummeted. And I just thought, I cannot be posting these things if I'm having a relapse myself. But I want to get the awareness out there, because there is no awareness for eating disorders, or there's too much fake news about eating disorders. And obviously that's not helpful either. So I wanted to put all this information out there for you guys, for those people who don't know a lot about eating disorders at all. But then it all just kind of came down on me. And I was thinking last night, what do I do now? I've kind of hit rock bottom. I guess I've been in a very low state. What do I do now? And I'm happy to say that I'm in this mindset now where I don't want to have a relapse. I don't want to go down that hole, because if you had anorexia, if you had exercise addiction, you will look back in recovery now, or however long it's been, you'll think, that was so much effort. And that's the main thing that's keeping me, like, my head above water. The amount of effort it put in to not just do those extra workouts or to cut down on your eating, but also to like lie to everyone around you. And that was the main thing with eating disorders and all that. Like, you lie to everyone about, oh, if someone asks you, have you eaten today? And you say, yes, there's that lying. But then with me, it went even deeper when my mum would then start making me lunch for school when I was 18 years old, when your mum should not be making you lunch anymore from the age of 12, you know? And she noticed, obviously, I wasn't taking my lunch to school, so then she'd be making it for me. And then I'd lie and throw it away, bring back an empty tub and say I'd eaten it. Little did I know that my sister ate lunch with me every day because we were in the same friendship group. She obviously saw I wasn't eating it, so it was still getting back to my mum, but I was having to do all these little lies that just built up, and that just ultimately makes you feel shit and your family feel shit because you're lying to them, and it's not fair on anyone. So that's also something that's really keeping me not going back there, because I don't want to cause that friction in the family again. And me and my therapist made a whole list of things, like reasons not to relapse, because again, if you are the same as me, like, you'll know that the kind of power to either choose a relapse or to not choose a relapse is so overwhelming, right? And you have those two options, and they are the only option, right? And it's so easy. It's way too easy to just give in to those negative emotions and just go down that relapse route. And once you start, it's really hard to pull yourself back from. And in a way, I'm kind of happy that I've had this breakdown, not just about eating disorders and all that, but also about me being burnt out from productivity. And you can kind of see here how everything just kind of circles, like a huge cycle. Everything is always connected in what you're feeling, what you're doing, your life, like everything is always connected. So I'm kind of happy that I've had I've been burnt out with everything else as well, because that's kind of been a huge kind of turning point for me to think, okay, right, take a step back. We need to evaluate what's going on here. But then when you have all of these emotions in you, what do you do? And that's so difficult. You think, right, I'm feeling this way about one thing, this way about another thing. Oh, there's this going on as well. And then that's when the overwhelm becomes even more. And then that's when you have the breakdown. And then you can't, as much as people say, oh, you need to learn to recognize your emotions and understand your emotions. And when you're feeling some type of way, you need to say, okay, this is how I'm feeling, etc. You've probably heard that many times. And as much as I encourage that, when you're in this state when you cannot just like pinpoint one emotion and you're feeling everything, and you know this fully well, I know you do, when you have a breakdown and everything is coming down on you and you just feel like curling up into a ball, and you do, I mean I do, but then whenever I have a breakdown, it usually lasts about 3 or 4 hours, like in the evening. It's always in the evening, especially when I've been tired. And then when I'm going to bed, then obviously I'm crying to start with, but then I sometimes just lie there and just think, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm not crying anymore. I've cried all my tears out. I don't know what to do now. And I just find it a little bit funny because, like, it's the same thing that happens every time. But it just feels worse each time, even though it's the exact same intensity, or it is for me anyway. You just think, okay, this is, oh my God, like, this is the lowest I've ever felt. How am I going to get out of this? Most of the time, the next morning, I'm feeling, yeah, I had a breakdown. Cool, let's carry on. Whereas actually this time, I woke up Sunday morning after the breakdown on Saturday and just thought, okay, right, I actually need to do something about this here. And I'm also really grateful that it's now a little bit sunnier, it's lighter outside, it's March now, so things are getting a bit more positive, a bit brighter, and this is really going to help in this next stage of my wellness journey. But now if we go back to the point about productivity, and this is the main thing I do want to get into in this episode, because I think so many people can relate to what I'm about to say. All my life, I have had to be productive. And that kind of umbrella term of productivity has increased over time to a point where now I have so much under my kind of umbrella term of productivity. What I mean by that is that before my eating disorder, before all of that, during school, I was a high achiever, like academically. And then obviously that developed into other things, but I had to get A stars. And I did very well at school. But that was because of the pressure I put on myself. It wasn't even from my parents, but I guess also having a twin sister who was also equally as smart, and we both got A stars, having that competition that was not really spoken about. I mean, sure, my parents made the odd comment like, which one of you are going to get better grades, when we'd always get the exact same grades, but because of that, there wasn't much competition because we'd always get the same amount of grades, the same amount of A stars, that kind of thing. But from the age of about 12, and I think this was because I went to a really, really demanding school. I went to a private school, which did have a reputation of getting A's, A stars at GCSE, A levels, whatever. Because I went to that school, there was this pressure on me straight away. But before that, I remember being in primary school, like year 5, year 6, with like the 11 plus, those kind of exams. I put all this pressure on me, and this came from me because I knew that I had to get into a good private school, etc. Probably again instilled from my parents, but it mainly came from me. And I had to do well at school, and then that then progressed into when I started playing hockey when I was 12 or 11, can't remember, but at the start of senior school I started playing hockey, and I was playing school hockey, and I moved up from the third team to the second team, featuring in the first team as well when people were unable to play, but I was still doing well. And then I put that pressure on me to train all the time. I then joined club hockey, and I had to train even more, and I had to be the best in the team. I had to score all the goals. I had to be the best player for everyone else, and not even for me. And that was me putting that pressure on myself, thinking this is what the pressure that other people are putting on me, when it really wasn't. It was just me thinking I had to be the best, because otherwise what's the point, and other people won't like me. And again, that whole thing of comparison and what will other people think of me. So then I had that high achieving mindset with sport as well. That then progressed into if I did have a day off from doing my homework, or I had a lazy Sunday playing Minecraft or watching Netflix, whatever I was doing at the time, or if I had a day off from sport, especially if maybe, I mean, in the UK, hockey matches got rained off quite a lot. If the like pitches were flooded and all that, if a match was cancelled, I would freak out. And I never told anyone about this, but I would honestly sit there and think, what do I do now with my day? Because again, I'm that person that plans their day around that one thing that's been planned for a while. And then I have my like to-do list of the day, and I do it around that. So then I'd freak out if I couldn't do it. Or, you know, if like you'd get home from school, and sometimes we then go to the pub for dinner. For example, if my mum was like, oh, I don't want to cook today, let's just go out. And as much as I love that, and I love that my parents did that for us, because it was great to go to the pub on a random Tuesday night, I'd then freak out because I'd be like, no, I've got to do my homework. I can't go out. And I'd throw these like tantrums at age 16. And I'd be like, no, I have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this because I know that I will get good grades from it. And I have to do this match because I know that it's exercise and I need to do it. But then I think at that point, it wasn't even about the exercise. It was about the fact that I needed to be productive. And then that's when sport moved into my productivity umbrella. So then I felt so mad at myself if I couldn't do it, even if, again, it was out of my control. Again, the control thing. And I would have a huge breakdown about it because I wanted to do 3 matches a day. Even those days, and then this progressed on to an eating disorder, but those days when on a Saturday, a lot of the time I'd be playing 3 matches on a Saturday. And I'd go to the gym with my mum before that, which was crazy looking back, especially when I was 16 years old and I should not have been doing that much sport, because that can really affect your development. Even at age 16, when you think you're not developing, you still are. And nobody should be doing that much sport at that age. That's just my opinion. But I look back and think, if one match was cancelled, even if I was doing 2 other matches, I'd freak out and then want to go do another workout because I'm like, no, I've just missed out on 80 minutes of not doing any exercise. I need to go do that now. And again, I just freak out about it. But then the pandemic hit. And I was really sad because when the pandemic hit, I was the best player in the second team at school. I was captain and I'd been asked to move up to the first, but I was like, no, I want to stay in the second team because I'm the best in the second team and everyone loves me because of it. And that was my reputation and I wanted to hold on to that. So when COVID hit, especially the first lockdown, we could not play sport. We couldn't even go to school. So when COVID hit, I couldn't do that extra hour of work at school. I couldn't do that other hockey match. I couldn't do any hockey matches. So then my productivity ultimately dropped. And again, this was the same for everyone, but this hit me really hard, as I'm sure it did for other people as well. But this did hit me really hard, and I could no longer do sport. And then I added into productivity, exercise, and healthy eating. Before the pandemic, I had been working out and I had been progressively doing more and more each day, doing 2 workouts a day before the pandemic, but then that just increased to doing literally I don't know if you did the Lily Sabri workouts, Chloe Ting workouts. Lily Sabri was good but also damaging because she released a lot of 7-minute hip workouts, 7-minute ab workouts, 7-minute legs. And I would literally do that in between my online lessons. And I'd be working out almost every hour, whether it was 10 minutes or an hour long. I would be doing something in between everything I was doing because I thought, oh my God, I'm not playing sport anymore. I need to work out every single day, all day, basically. Because then I felt productive if I had done 3-4 workouts a day. And that was my productivity when, I was doing online school. But then, as much as my school raved about how good they were at online school, it still did not feel productive, if you know what I mean. We still just went through the same thing we would in class. And I don't know, it just kind of felt there wasn't much point to it. But anyway, so that's why I did not feel productive. So that's when I got into my blog a bit more. I started thinking about doing a podcast in the future. But the thing here is that the productivity dropped. So then I had to latch onto something else, which was an eating disorder, which I didn't realize at the time. And then that just obviously made me just plummet, obviously towards the end of the pandemic. Again, I began to feel really guilty. And then that's when the guilt really started setting in. If I did have a Sunday during the pandemic when, I'd spend the day with my parents just sat in the garden, sunbathing, having a few drinks, or playing Minecraft with my sister because that was our little thing in lockdown. Or if I didn't do a workout in the day, or I only did, again, 1 workout in the day, or I ate pizza, or I didn't eat clean, I guess, I felt so guilty because of it, even though I was already doing a lot. But again, that kind of, I think I read the start of lockdown, or our school sent an email out saying, make sure you're not sat around all day, make sure you're moving around, because obviously at school you'd move around between lessons and all that. They were saying, make sure you're not sitting down. The Joe Wicks thing started. I think he was on the radio saying stuff like that as well. I think that's what was instilled in my mind. So then I was like, oh my God, I'm going to gain weight because I'm sat down all the time. I don't want to be lazy. And then this is when the fear of being lazy really started to sink in. It was already a bit like that, as I've been saying before, but then the fear of being lazy and not being productive, even though, and this is the main thing here, rest days are the most productive thing in my opinion. I'm still finding it hard to believe, okay? And this is me on a good day telling you this. You'll find me tomorrow saying, no, rest days are so bad for you. But no, rest days are always going to be good for you. And I'm not just talking about going to the gym, you have a rest day or 2 rest days a week. No, I'm talking about mentally. You need a day every single week to just be lazy. I read a study, and I think I saw it on Lad Bible, but I think it was from an American university or something, or maybe it was Amsterdam University, I don't know, something like that. I saw a study a week or so ago saying that those people who have 1 day a week where they do nothing, and I mean nothing, I mean literally sat on the sofa all day, you know, when you're hungover, that level of nothing, okay? People who do that and like have naps in that day, they live longer and they're happier, I think was the result of the study. I'll try find it and put it in the show notes, but I think that was the main results they found, that they were just happier and they got more done in the week because they had that day to recharge. And I think this is so important here. Obviously, not everyone can afford to do that. Maybe you work every day or whatever your lifestyle is. Maybe you can't really fit that in, especially if you're a parent, that kind of thing. But try and find, if you can't find a whole day, find half a day or an hour after work each day, that kind of thing, to really just shut your mind off. And I am being hypocritical and I'm being honest with you here. I don't do that. But hopefully, again, this episode will encourage me and you guys to really find that balance in it. And again, I say it a lot, but it's all about balance. But this kind of fear of being lazy is so installed in me. And since recovery, like a hangover day, I can tolerate. And I'm like, oh, I'm hungover today. Okay, I'll let my body rest. I'll let my mind rest. But then if I just want a lazy day, I'm not hungover, I'm not ill, whatever. I'm just having a mental health day. I cannot do that. I'm just there like, no, I've got to be productive. I can't do this. And that's why it's so weird. Like in recovery, sure, I learned that rest days are good, but I meant rest days in terms of, one, like don't do a workout that day in terms of gym and in terms of like kind of a fitness journey in order to obviously gain weight, exercise addiction, reduction, that kind of thing. Sure, like a rest day from that, but then I'd still be going out. I'd still probably go for a walk with my friend or something like that. But then also, I mean, in terms of like a hangover, that's what I really struggled with during my eating disorder, because I still had events to go to. I still wanted to have fun with my friends, even though I was so lost in my eating disorder, as I've said a lot of the time. But then the day after my hangover, I would be a mess and I'd try and work out and I couldn't, and it would just be this whole horrible day. So that was the first thing I really did in recovery. I really retrained my mind to think, you're hungover today, it's okay, just have a day off. And now there's even more things under my umbrella term of productivity. In one day, for example, if I don't get a workout done, I'm not working, or I didn't get all my to-do list done for work, I don't do a blog post, I don't do some research in a new podcast episode, I don't record any reels, I don't do any carousels or graphics for my Instagram and for work and all of that. If I don't do those things, plus if I don't do my skincare routine, if I don't do all the personal things else, if I don't drink my greens, if I don't drink this, if I don't do one of those things, I feel shit. And those days when I don't do a lot of those things or even all of those things, I just feel lost, because I've built up my identity with being productive and having this fear of laziness. And I've built my identity up so much to be this productive girl who can balance everything, this confident, this working kind of boss girl era vibe right now. As much as I love being that person, I need to tone it down before I have a bigger burnout when I can't go to work or I can't do anything. So that's why I'm really happy that I have noticed the triggers now. I have noticed how burnt out I have been. And that's why this week I am really having a week off. But I wanted to get this podcast out there because this is also my form of journaling, as I've said before. I want to get this out there in case you guys are also feeling some kind of way after ED Awareness Week. I also know it was National Suicide Awareness Day on Thursday, I think it was, or Friday. So again, if you're triggered about anything like that, have a week off. You can have a week off. I don't mean if you're working, like book a week off work, maybe not that extreme, but just have a week when all you're focusing on is work and yourself. Because with that, I then also have my personal socials and platforms, not to do with work. I then have my social life that I want to upkeep, because now that I've moved home, I have this kind of loss of identity of I'm not a student anymore. I'm living at home. All my other friends aren't at home. So I need to be going out every weekend. I need to be going back to uni. I need to go see my sister. I need to go on dates. I need to keep my social life alive. And because of this, I have not been at home longer than 2 weeks at a time, or even a week. I think a week. I'm going to say 14 days. This has been since I've actually been with my boyfriend as well. So, 18 months. I have not been at home or in one place. Even at uni, it was the exact same way. I was not in one place for more than a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time. And that is really scary to think about, that I have not been in that place since I was 18, like before I was 18 at school. obviously COVID and all that, I was at home a lot. I wasn't going out anywhere. I think that's also why then I have had this need to just go out all the time and like do things all the time since COVID and since that. And I think maybe a lot of people are the same. First year of uni, I didn't have a boyfriend, but I was at uni the first term, but then I had a huge breakdown. So then I was going back every single weekend back home. I took my car with me to uni, went back every weekend. Since then as well, I've not stayed at uni for that long. Like then over the summer, like that summer after first year, I was traveling everywhere. And then at the end of the summer, I got myself a boyfriend who lived an hour away from uni, an hour and a half away from my house. So then on the weekends, I wasn't necessarily going back home. I was going to his uni, or we'd go away together. Or then I'd sometimes go to my sister's house in Bath. Like I would just be everywhere. And if I did have a week where I didn't see my boyfriend or I didn't go see anyone, even though I was around people living in a 10-person flat in second year with my closest friends at uni, I'd feel so weird like not going away anywhere and staying in the same place for so long, and I'd feel so uncomfortable being by myself, even though I know I was around other people. But I have learnt that I hate being by myself, and I think that has come from, again, this fear of laziness and being productive, that my social life is also being productive. And this is why I've burnt out, and you can so see this now, and I really hope there's someone else out there who's going through this right now, and I'm sure there is. I'm sure a lot of you right now listening to this can kind of relate in some degree. I hope there's a few that can relate fully, but you know, that's up to you, obviously. But yeah, and then I've lost this kind of sense of who I am because I dropped out of uni in April. It's coming up to a year since I decided to drop out. But then since kind of April, obviously May, June, I was going back for exams, those in-person exams, and I had a few events I wanted to attend. And then from June to July, I was going away. July onwards, I was working, but then I was working part-time, so I still went to go see my sister, my boyfriend, my friends at uni. I was doing all these things. And then when me and my boyfriend broke up, I ramped up even more to be going back to uni and to go see my sister because I could not be alone, because I could not process those emotions that I was feeling. And I still have not to this day. I'm over him, I'm over the breakup completely, don't get me wrong, but I've still not been able to process my reactions after that and kind of this route I've gone down into major productivity. I rejoined the gym then as well, so then it was just more things just added to it, and I'm burnt out now. And I've said that a lot, but I'm gonna start wrapping it up here, but I am just burnt out basically. So again, what am I gonna do about this now? I am having a week off. I know I'm posting this episode, but other than that, I'm having a week off. Even though I have this urge right now to be, oh, I'm completely fine this morning. I can do 20 blog posts this week. I can record 2 other episodes. I can do that guest episode I want to do. No, I need to force myself to just focus on work and to just focus on myself. And it already starts to feel uncomfortable not being as productive. Even doing this podcast, I just feel so on edge. And I went to go record a reel for my Instagram earlier, and I was like, oh my God, Ellie, don't do that. Please don't do that. Just stop, because that's exactly why you're feeling this way. You need to just stop. So I'm going to set reminders on my phone to just say, Ellie, don't. Every hour, I just want to say, Ellie, don't. And I will learn just to have a week off. Next weekend, so this weekend coming up, I'm actually at home. I do have a date arranged for Saturday, but I might kind of postpone that a little bit, even though I don't want to. I do want to go see this guy again, but I don't think it's good for me if I do that, because Sunday it's Mother's Day and I'm spending the whole day with my mum, and I think it will be a really nice end to this mini relapse, you know, kind of just pulling myself back down to earth. Me and my mum have not done stuff together in so long because, again, I've been away all of February. I mean, I've been away with her, with my family, or other events we've done, but I've not been away like just me and my mum. So spending a whole day together is going to be so good. I've also booked a mini weekend break away to Portugal for the beginning of April. So I'm just going to push through March and really just focus on myself, because even though I've been saying that since the breakup, and you guys know I focus on everything but myself because I'm scared of those emotions. So in the next episode, I want to explore that kind of overwhelming sensation with emotions again during a breakdown, that kind of thing. I want to explore that in next week's episode because I want to explore it with my therapist first tomorrow night. So that will be next week's episode. The guest episode I was supposed to be putting on this week is with Molly Canham. A few of you might recognise her name. She was a GB under-20s athlete. She won the 400 metre European Championships a few years ago now. I think she was 16 at the time. She's now 23, so a few years ago now. But she has got an amazing story with having an eating disorder during her journey of being an athlete, or a pro athlete, I should say. And that episode was meant to go out this week. Yesterday I was supposed to interview her. I mean, we've been rescheduling for the last 2 weeks because of various things happening between us and our personal lives. But I messaged her on Saturday night saying, look, I've had a really shit week, and as much as I want to do this episode, because trust me, I'm so excited to get this episode out for you guys, because it's going to be so interesting to finally speak to someone else about eating disorders. But as soon as that is ready, I'll be putting it on my socials, reminding you guys when it's up. I'm expecting it to be the end of the month, but I'm not going to put the pressure on myself. But yeah, this episode will be good. I'm excited to get it out. So I do apologise if you were waiting for that, but I thought I'd give a little teaser here. It's going to dive into the world of eating disorders with elite sports, the support she had during that, the stereotypes, the stigma around it, and we're just going to go from there and see what happens. So please send me a message if you've had a struggle with maybe a relapse, or you've really found last week with Eating Disorder Awareness Week being really difficult for you. Please shoot me a message if you need someone to talk to. Although I'm not going to be posting on socials, I'm still going to be active in my messages. So if you are struggling and need someone to talk to, I am here for you. Don't you worry. I'm still doing that duty. But again, I'm just taking this time off for myself. So I hope you guys are doing okay as well. If you're not, please talk to each other, talk to me, talk to your loved ones, your mum, whoever it is you turn to. Speak to someone. Get those thoughts out there. If not, just literally write it down. Write it down in your journal. It does help. And that's what I've been using for my notes for this episode. I've got 20 pages in my journal from the last few weeks that all say the same thing about me needing a break, and now I'm having a break. So if you've also stopped a relapse happening, I'm proud of you as well, or I'm proud of you in whatever you're doing right now. You're brave, you're strong, you can get through what you're going through right now, and I'm just ultimately proud of you. So on that note, I'm going to leave you guys to have a good day, a good rest of your week, and yeah, this is goodbye, and I'll speak to you very soon.